Hold the phone real quick. Did we have another wholesome slash happy episode of Dororo? What is going on here? This is scaring me a little bit, because normally when series are completely dark and then they go into happy mode for a little bit, usually that means something really bad's gonna happen. Like something extremely bad, like messed up to the point to where it's just gonna disturb you to where you might not want to watch anymore, or just be so depressed you might put the series on hold just to collect your feelings. I wonder what's gonna happen, because it's not normal for Dororo to have two happy episodes back to back like this. We had the Ohagi stuff with the Spider Woman in the last episode, and how apparently they actually have a relationship and all that, to this episode with how it had all of the ways to go wrong. Once again, it turned out a-okay, and no one pretty much important died. And that's the point here. It's a happy ending. And I'm just like, this is scary for Dororo. But okay, before I go any further though, can we talk about Saru's character design? Like, I think it's going to be highly underrated. Many are probably not going to talk about how amazing Saru's design is. I'm a sucker for, like, animal-type pelt clothing. Like, when it comes to characters having, like, pelts or fur on them, or, like, maybe, like, an animal hat or whatever, I always love that. Like, you know, seeing a full-on, like, wolf head and stuff on someone, I love, you know, stuff like that. And seeing Saru having that as a design, I instantly fell in love with this character. I'm like, that's a really cool freaking design. And apparently, after looking a little bit into it, apparently this is a anime original episode. Which, what? Like, you're telling me this is an anime original episode when Haya got back his nose. Was that never shown in the manga? I mean, if anyone could clarify, please do so in the comments below. But apparently this was an anime original, and I'm just like, okay. I mean, if you never told me that, I would have never known. That's literally how good this episode was. I mean, it didn't really break any canon that's been established. It didn't ruin the characters. It didn't feel too, you know, drawn out. It was a perfect episode to get the point across about another demon and how Haya got back, you know, a piece of his body. That's pretty much what the episode was. It's kind of a typical thing we've been seeing since the beginning, but with, you know, distinctive varied themes throughout the episodes. And that's where this episode comes in. We have, once again, more hints at Dororo's backstory. Now, we know, thanks to Mio, that Dororo, his mother, died thanks to what Mio was doing. She never wanted to do that line of work, but in the end, she did die to that. That's what was stated by Dororo episodes ago. And so, we know that Dororo has some issues with his family. He's been alone for a very long time. And seeing the whole situation with Saru and how he didn't really have a name, and, you know, the whole situation with his mother and all that, I think Dororo was able to completely understand Saru's, you know, opinion or how he felt, and that is why Dororo really wanted to help him out. Why he wanted to help out Saru and make him very happy, even though at the end of the day, they didn't get the biggest reward that they could have for the situation. I think at the end, Dororo was just very happy to be able to help out someone that was very similar to him, someone that faced a similar past, kind of like him. He just wanted to help him out and allow the man to have some peace, and that is why they wanted to save, you know, his older sister. So let's get right into that. So, the monster, or the demon that's in question for this episode, is a giant centipede-like creature that, in a lot of ways, when you look at its head design, it looks like a dragon. It really does. I was reminded of, like, a Chinese dragon, weird-looking Chinese dragon, but it still reminded me of it, the way it moved around in the sky, and maybe that's kind of what, you know, the artist was trying to nod his head at, like, yeah, this is trying to reference a Chinese dragon. But whatever the case may be, though, the giant centipede overall wasn't really anything to write home about. It wasn't anything too crazy powerful. The only thing that made it really threatening was the fact that it was a large creature that was able to hide within this veil of smoke, which in a lot of ways is dangerous for someone like Haya. You'd think at first glance Haya would have no problem, because he's able to just detect evil presences, so he doesn't really need to rely on light. So a dark cloud is not really going to affect him. But apparently the dark cloud was a part of the creature, so he couldn't just automatically hone in on the target and bring the creature down, which added a whole new layer of complications for Haya to bring it down, because he couldn't rely on his, you know, spiritual eyesight. He actually had to rely on his hearing to bring an opponent down, which is very interesting, by the way, because we see throughout this episode, it's very subtle. Well, it's not really subtle. It's not outright stated, but Haya practices his hearing. He starts to throw rocks at this other rock all day long. You just hear this banging sound. He just keeps throwing a rock. And at first glance, you might not understand why he's doing it. But then you're like, wait a minute. He's trying to just listen to what sounds like, or how it sounds like. If he was to sling something and how long it takes to hit this object, he's able to determine the distance. And that's what he was doing. He was able to kind of understand what he was doing with his hearing, and that was how he was able to bring down his opponent. I appreciate that, because Haya's having to learn his other senses that is a part of the human body, because as he continues to gain things back, obviously he's going to become more and more human, and it's theorized that he's going to become weaker, because, he no longer has the ability to just completely disregard pain. He feels it. He can actually I hear things now. He can smell things. He can speak and taste things now. He is someone that has almost all of his senses back. And I think when he gets his eyesight back, he might not be able to see things spiritually, and which would put him at a big disadvantage from what he normally does throughout the series. It would allow creatures like demons or whatever that can disguise as humans to completely go around Haya, and he would never even know, because he's not really able to detect them anymore. That is the point here. What I'm getting at is that I feel like this was a very critical episode. Even if it is anime original, it's critical to allow us to know that he is trying to improve his ability to use his senses. So I'm fine with it. This anime original, I still think this is actually canon, in my personal opinion. Which, by the way, speaking of canon, anime original, all that, apparently, this series is going to have 24 episodes. I don't know if that's new information. It was just recently told to me, though. But I thought this was only going to be 12 or 13 episodes. That was my impression. But apparently, this is going to be 24 episodes, which, you know what? I'm all for that, because Dororo is a good series. I think many can agree with me. Trying to end this series on episode 12 or 13, it would have probably felt rushed, because there's just not enough time to really deal with all the demons and properly give character development for everything going on in this series, for all the characters, like to Haya's father, mother, brother, and then, Dororo and the backstory to him. There's so many things that still need to be answered, so if it was a 12 to 13 episode series, it would feel very rushed. I don't think it would be as good as it could possibly be, so I do think it's a blessing that we are potentially getting 24 episodes for this series, because that means more time for the animators to kind of do what they want to do with the story, even if they add anime original, just to clarify a few things. Oh yeah, and also, I like how we're once again keeping the theme that's been happening constantly throughout Dororo since the very beginning when Haya started to gain back his body parts. We have it to where, originally, when he first gained back, like, let's say, sense of feeling, he had, pain, he felt damage, he got sick. When he gained back his hearing, he heard, the sister crying over her deceased brother. He cried out in pain when he first got back his voice. And, we also know that he lost his leg, so he knew how pain felt when he lost a limb, to, now getting back his nose in this episode, to where he actually can smell things. And the first thing he smells is sulfur, which is basically equivalent to rotten eggs. But thankfully, right after that scene, he does get to smell a flower, so it isn't, that bad as probably the previous events that's happened when he first gained back his sense, but still, it's just interesting that, once again, we see this theme continuing, and it does have me becoming very fearful of the fact when he does gain back his eyesight, is he gonna see something truly horrible? Like, could our character Dororo potentially die when Haya is able to see again? Who really knows? But that's just something I wanted to point out. And to leave it on that, one last thing I do want to say, I do also like the fact that, the brother and sister, they got to live basically happily ever after, and just have a good life together. It's just very nice to see this. But I think that's about it. I'm probably going to end this video here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this week's episode of Dororo. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Be honest in the comments below. How'd you feel about, the situation while the girl didn't die and how she was able to live and how it was a complete happy ending? Be honest in the comments below. And so with that, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. Because for some reason, even if you click the subscribe button, you don't always get notified for whenever a video is uploaded. So if you do want to get notified, hit that bell icon. And with that, I love you guys. Chibi out.